Hey everybody, welcome back to the Xfinity Hearthstone tournament. We have one more quarterfinals of the day. It's Tides of Time versus SjoW. Tides from Cloud9, SjoW from CompLexity. My name is Frodan. I'm joined by Monk from Team Liquid. And we have a great series because this one is with really cool decks from Tides of Time. I also really want to see if SjoW can continue a really good performance and go to the top four. And it'd be a really interesting top four. I think we have RDU, we have Trump, we have Dog, and maybe SjoW.
Yeah, I think, of course, Tides of Time did bring his very interesting Giants Mage deck, and I really hope for him to advance because of that. But on the other hand of the coin, other side of the coin, SjoW is a player that's been consistently doing well, but not well enough to get into the finals or the top four of tournaments. I feel like I'd also be really happy to see him advance because I feel it's about time. Just like his teammate Dog, they deserve a win.
Yeah, I think so too. So, maybe we have an all-complexity finals. That'd be really interesting, Monk, if that was the case. Maybe get to see the opportunity for players to show off their skills against their teammates, because then you have some mind gaming. The one thing that is interesting too about this specific lineup is that there are no Druid Mage Hunter combinations. Instead, Druid Mage Warrior. So no Hunters this series. What do you think about that, Monk?
Very great. And we won't have 3-minute games anymore, and we won't have possibly won't have just blowouts of some players just winning 3-0 like we had in the Forsen versus Dog series. Warrior tends to be a more stable deck, and actually both these players are known for Warrior. SjoW obviously is known as a Warrior god, hitting rank number 1 NA with Warrior all the time. But it's very little known that Tides is also a Warrior player himself. Back in the day, it was pretty much Kit Kats and Tides of Time as being the premier Warrior players.
That's right. They would innovate a lot with small things. I think SjoW was known for his Hogger, like putting it in. Tides, of course, was known for putting like
Leroy
Jenkins and Faceless Manipulator, and trying to see if they can keep up with the burst meta by being really aggressive like that. So cool stuff around that. People really look at Kit Kats, of course, for doing like Korkron Elites against Animal Companions. Those are really cool moments as well. So
I remember being on receiving the learning firsthand about Leroy and Warrior. I was playing a Warrior mirror against Tides, and he played Acolyte into Leroy Jenkins, then sent his Acolyte of Pain into one of the Whelps. And that was a really cool move, I thought. I was like, wow, I'm impressed, Tides. Good job. Good for you.
For sure. So that's going to lead us straight into what these guys should pick to start off the series. Druid, Mage, and Warrior. Tide starts off with Druid against the Mage. This one's going to be tough because we know SjoW has the Mech Mage, and that's never comfortable. Like, even if you tech against Mech Mage in this most with like Kazan Mystic, it's still tough.
Yeah. Mech Mage, out of the lineup, it seems to be the Mage from both players seem to be the strongest in both lineups. Especially the Mage from Tides, I think it's going to be a really good counter against Warrior. If Tides ever gets those Molten Giants down, SjoW is going to have a really hard time killing them off, especially behind a bunch of taunts.
All right. Well, Druid versus Mage to start things off. If he can win this, Tides will be in an excellent spot, because I also think the Druid here getting it out of the way would also be liability in other parts too, so that way he can make sure his Mage does the work too. How do you think the Giants Mage relates to the rest of the lineup here, Monk?
Let's see. I guess I'm not really sure because it's such a new deck, but I would think that if it had the same matchups as the previous incarnation of Giants Mage, which was designed by Hyped and Tides of Time together, it would be really good in controlled matchups like Priest and Warrior. So I see that Tides actually has at least 2 good decks that are good against Warrior. So it might seem that Tides is the favorite in the matchup.
That'd be cool, just having the Mage against Warrior.
Mage against anything. I'm just really hyped to see that deck. In fact, I actually, this might be bad of me, but I actually want to see Tides lose with that deck a few times, just so we can get more of that deck in action.
No more than 3.
No more than 3.
Oh, no more than 2, actually.
Yeah. I definitely want to see a win with that deck at least.
Yeah, I also want to see SjoW continue to go on too. So that's the storylines that are set. We're gonna wait for those players to get a little bit prepared as well. We saw that Tides still kind of coming in. We're way ahead of schedule because of how everything's lined up time-wise, because we had a really fast series to start the day.
Yeah, it's funny that yesterday we had just pretty much every series was either a 3-2 or a 3-1. But today we've had pretty good opening with a 3-1 from RDU, a 3-0 for Dog, and a 3-1 from Trump. Just everyone dominating their opponents today.
Would you have expected that top 4, RDU, Dog, and Trump?
I think out of the top 4, Dog is probably the most expected. RDU has been kind of on a hot streak lately, even though he hasn't been doing that well.
Yeah, he's a very streaky player in general, feels like.
Yeah. And finally, Trump versus Lothar. I don't think many people would have expected that outcome, to be completely honest. But yeah, I always root for Trump, and I actually have Trump going to the finals of this tournament in my fantasy bracket.
Yes. Dog needs to beat RDU, and then Trump needs to beat SjoW, and then you're right. And then you actually got a pretty large percentage of the bracket correctly, Monk, if you went that far. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I only got 50% on the first day.
Did you say Trump wins the whole tournament?
No, I said he loses in the finals.
Oh, to Dog?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So me and you have Dog winning the whole thing.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. But yeah, sure.
Okay. Cool. Here we go. Game number 1 is about to begin. Druid versus Mech Mage. Tides is, we're going to wait till he has webcam a little bit up. So in the meantime,
he's still in Dignitas for now.
Still in Dignitas. Back when he was in Dota 2.
Yeah.
And his hair was not outrageously orange.
Actually, something both these players have in common. They were both in Dignitas at one time.
For different games.
Yeah, for different games. Tides for Dota and, was it...
StarCraft.
For Heroes of the Storm? Or Heroes of New Earth?
I knew that he was a really good Dota player.
He definitely played Heroes of New Earth, too. And also, yeah, SjoW was a very prominent player in StarCraft for Dignitas as well.
Very slow start for SjoW. My goodness. But that mirror entity presents a big problem. And you know what? That Pilot Shredder, I misremembered. I thought it was Trump that played it, but it's Tides, actually.
Yeah, Tides seems like the type of player who would play Piloted Sky Golems. He's a very control-heavy player, and he really favors decks that curve very high. Like, for example, at the VA Game House Cup, he had like an insanely greedy control warrior.
Yeah.
And even though I felt like he kind of regretted it after the tournament itself.
Nah, you don't live with regrets. There's no way to conduct your daily day-to-day activities. Druid the Claw in taunt mode, right? It's definitely the better course of action against this type of board, and because SjoW didn't play a mech, Goblin Blast Mage has no impact. Oh, it puts a 5-4 on the board, but it doesn't have a strong impact that we've come to expect.
Yeah, it's really awkward from SjoW. No mechs in his first 2 turns. How unlikely is that?
Pretty unlikely, considering that his entire deck is usually mech. So the suicide of the mad scientist, fair enough, just so that way he can get the mirror entity up and really contest whatever comes out.
Tides does have a pretty good trade. Yeah, he can either trade into the Azure Drake or he can trade into the Tinkertown Technician. I prefer the Tinkertown slightly more, because then your opponent will have to fit into hero power for the next turn.
Agreed. Not to mention that, what if on the off chance he picked up Innervate, could Innervate Wrath and then really put out some really ridiculous power plays. Goblin Blast Mage has really strong potential here, or he can squeeze in a hero power and continue to complicate things. But that's why I really like this trade, because that 3 mana is not exactly the most even thing in the world.
Yeah. That being said, the Pilot Shredder into Azure Drake is a pretty good trade on SjoW's side of the board. And it'll be really hard for Tides to get back this kind of board position.
Huh, a Rubian Egg.
So now he's protected against Spell Power Swipe.
Right.
That's actually probably a really bad one for SjoW.
Oh man, these mirror entities have been really problematic.
Yeah, Tides is kind of getting punished for playing such a top-heavy deck with at least 3 6-drops. Emperor, Sylvanas, and Piloted Sky Golem.
Man, all these options stink.
Yeah, playing a minion seems to be a losing play. Although Emperor Thorzen, it seems to be, I think if it seems to be more valuable on the Druid side of the field than the Mage side of the field. That is if the Mage just doesn't kill the Druid.
Because there's like Fireball for 3, Goblin Blast Mage for 3. That's really good.
Yeah, but I think Tides is hoping that, yes, he's hovering over it and he's thinking about playing it. And he's hoping that SjoW's hand is not that great and he'll be able, the mage will just play his hand out too quickly and therefore run out of cards, whereas Druid is definitely not running out of cards anytime soon.
It does give Swipe and Wrath only cost 4 mana, so that gives him 3 mana to work with the following turn if he needs to.
The trap you end up following into if you just swipe here is on the next turn you're going to be presented with the same situation. You're not going to be able to draw into anything. Okay, so I think he just wraths for 1 here and hopes to draw into like a zombie chow. No. Okay. So with this play, he's saying if I don't draw into something good, then I can swipe next turn. Ooh.
2 Mech Warpers.
2 portals are aligned.
And that makes Mechanical Yeti only 2 mana. So that's allows him to have 1 mana floating. Alright, doesn't really matter too much about the 1 mana. I guess unless he wants to play around something specific.
Like
there's
Mind Control Tech.
Mind Control Tech?
Yeah.
You'd want to do that.
Yeah, very few people know, but Tides of Time is actually the first person who's ever used Mind Control Tech in a competitive tournament. Back when he was playing in WEC China, he actually won WEC with Mind Control Tech Paladin.
Mm-hmm. Well, now Tides is just completely blown out, I think. That Mirror Entity, again, posing to be such a problem. If that Mirror Entity didn't exist and it was just another minion, you'd have an opportunity to have some high impact. But now there's just 13 damage on the board, plus a Fireball.
Yeah, that might just be too much damage.
Right.
Lothab will just pretty much lock everything out.
There's no need to trade, right, if you Lothab? I guess you could Cho and Yeti, Mechanical Yeti trade. But I still like Lothab just straight.
Lothab and just everything going in the face. Pretty much no opportunity for a board clear. And then you can follow up with Fireball, maybe Goblin Blast Mage. And yeah, Tides doesn't even try because he knows this game is just pretty much unwinnable for him.
Mage out of the way, so Druid has Mage Warrior just against Druid Warrior. Thinking about how it, like, now that Mech Mage is gone, I guess Druid has a better chance to line up against Warrior. If I was Tides, I guess I'd just queue up Druid again, so because Druid can beat the Warrior, and then Druid versus Druid, he has the slightly slower Druid with a lot of powerful cards. Yes. I think Druid versus Druid is coming up next.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Neither player wants to run into the Druid versus Warrior matchup, and it's actually, even if you lose the Druid matchup, you're not too sad because you do want it to match up against the Warrior. Warrior's going to have a pretty good matchup against, actually it's going to have a bad matchup against Tides' Mage, so I think the rest of Tides' lineup is going to be fairly good against SjoW. That being said, SjoW's Warrior had a Ysera in it, and that would be really good against Tides Warrior, and also could be potentially be good against Druid as well, if it ever gets to that stage.
Yeah, the greedy Warriors tend to have a slight edge, but you ask a few good Warrior players, and they always say that if you can be slightly more aggressive in that mirror, it's really good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I observe Fibonacci a lot, probably more than any other player. I spectate him, and whenever I see him play, he's very aggressive, more so than pretty much most Warrior players. And he tells me that's how he likes to play Warrior, and I'm learning a lot from him every single time.
So you like, Death Bite the face a lot, right?
Yeah.
And set up so that way you can be dropping like those big bombs and starting to present threats.
Yeah, like sometimes he just uses Grom as a threat instead of trying to finish off the game with Grom. Really
seems reasonable. I think it's like, that way it's not victim to the draw. Sometimes if you let it be really passive, you're just a victim of having the wrong removal at the wrong time.
Yes.
And then they just draw in the better sequence. If you're more aggressive, you force them to have the right one, and then you might be able to present the threat.
It's a similar mentality to as when Chalky plays aggro decks. He just says, you got to force them to have it. If they don't have it, you win.
Mm-hmm.
Winning is good.
Winning is great, especially since this win for either player is $500. Winning from next round is $2,000, and then winning the finals is $7,000. So the final best of 5 is a SjoW match for $5K.
Yeah, not bad at all. Pretty good payday. One Hearthstone series for awesome $5K. Payday.
I'm gonna have a swig of water, Monk.
All right, fair enough. So
My throat feels really dry. So
at least you're not dying to face Hunter.
that's right. Life could be worse. Life could be worse. No hunters, just warrior versus warrior potential, which could be the exact opposite. We're waiting for Sho to come back from the bathroom, so you're stuck with us until then.
Yeah, he just he knows. The thing is, maybe he's going to the bathroom because he knows he's going to queue up with warrior, and it's going to be a really long game. So he wants to head to the bathroom really quickly and not have to take a bio break in between the games.
That's right. Right. You want to pace yourself, get those Red Bulls or get those whatever energy drinks that you have. Get stalled. Sometimes I do push-ups to keep myself awake during Hearthstone games.
Between Hearthstone games.
Or actually, I took Hearthstone with me to the gym today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's a very cool tool in the
Like
gym.
I put it on the treadmill little holder there, and I just played Hearthstone while I climbed stairs and stuff.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Hearthstone blogs even saying that.
Gymstone.
Gymstone, exactly. So it's going to be, like I predicted, SjoW went to the bathroom exactly because he's queuing up with Warrior against TidesofTime's Druid.
I think this is him tossing out Warrior because he doesn't expect Warrior to win. I think... Oh, okay. So I think SjoW predicted that Tides would pick Druid because Druid is his best bet against the two classes. And SjoW wants Tides' Druid to win, so that way his Warrior has a better chance against another class as opposed to the other way around. Because if he eliminates Tides' Druid, then he still has his own Druid against Tides' Warrior.
It's true.
So this is actually what SjoW wanted, I think. Even though he won.
Yeah.
It's a bad matchup.
Yeah, even though it is a bad matchup, I feel it's closer to 50-50 than most people think. Like,
you think so?
Yeah, Nyria from Team Liquid actually says it's almost 50-50, even though I think most players think it's closer to 80-20.
Okay, so there's always a player. This is what you have to learn. If you're watching Hearthstone, you're always like, okay, so these pros, or one player says this, one player says the other. There's always a pro that disagrees, or like a high-level player that disagrees with everyone else. So what I've learned to do is like saying, well, that person's deck list and playstyle, it works for them. But generally speaking, I still feel like Druid is great against Warrior.
Yeah, definitely. But I kind of like to take all opinions and kind of average them out. And in general, my philosophy is that most matchups are closer to 50-50 than most people think.
What about Freeze Mage versus Warrior?
That's unwinnable.
Okay, so we're clear.
But actually, according to Blizzard,
no, don't even begin to go there, Monk, because I know Freeze Mage versus Warrior is awful.
Sure.
All right, Druid versus Warrior is also a really tough matchup. Okay, here's the thing. You can tech against Druid a lot.
Yes.
So you can bring Black Knight,
Bomb Lobber, yeah, exactly.
You can, actually, what other ways do you tech against Druid?
That's a good question. Like, Frothing Berserker isn't even that good because it trades poorly against 4-drops.
I don't know. Toshli.
Yeah, Toshli is very good against Druid, actually.
Here we go. Warrior opens incredibly slow. He's just going to armor up a lot. Druid has no wild growth, but he does have an innervate, and he can innervate out the Emperor on turn 3. That's going to be very hard for SjoW to come back from. But I'm almost 90% certain that SjoW is still going to just like let this game go. So that way his Druid can match up against Warrior as opposed to Druid versus Druid.
Yeah. One issue I find is if Tides actually gets that Emperor Thorzen out on turn 3, then SjoW actually doesn't have an answer to deal with it currently.
Looks like we had a little bug in spectator client. We'll have to get back in. I was thinking SjoW was trying really hard, like to play mysteriously. Yeah. Like, yeah, maybe I have a turn 2 play, maybe I don't. No, he didn't have a play. It looks like we were a little bit stalled out.
Maybe have an Armorsmith, but probably not.
I did have some people like argue that you shouldn't drop Armorsmith too early sometimes if it's not worth it, because it's a 1/4, and oftentimes it doesn't trade into anything really strong.
Yeah.
So in control matchups, Armorsmith's actually quite weak.
That being said, I've heard Kit Kats tell me once that Armorsmith into Cruel Taskmaster is the best opening you can get against Warrior, because you can bait out their swipes and wraths. And swipes and wraths are actually key cards in the Warrior matchup, because at a certain point you can kind of if you make sure their removals are all gone, your minions are guaranteed to stick, like your big Ragnaroses and Alexstrasas. Of course, that's after the big game hunter is out as well. So,
okay. So seems as if we have
some technical issues.
Some technical issues that we're gonna try to figure out. So I guess we can talk about that game, but you know, I really think that if Druid got the Emperor out and reduced a lot of expensive minions like the Ancient of Lore and the Sylvanas, it would have been a really good spot for Druid.
Yeah, it's kind of like the dream start actually, because that's why people say Emperor Thorzane is that good in Druid, because when you're going second, you can get him out really fast, reduce the mana cost of all your cards. Sometimes your opponent won't be able to deal with it, and even if he can, you have so many combos and so many card draw mechanics that you can just like Force of Nature into Savage Roar on turn 10 even, or even use the combo on turn 7 for a finishing blow. It's usually just too much pressure for a class like Warrior.
Yep, so looks like we still have yet to hear back from what's going on exactly. Most likely it's just a regame here, and hopefully it doesn't have too much of an impact. Yep, that's about it.
Yep.
SjoW just came back from Warrior, not from Warrior, he just came back from vacation, by the way, so I'm sure he's looking to try and get back into the swing of Hearthstone. He started to stream more often. And Tides, well, Tides is still searching for, I think, his dream apartment in California. He's thinking about moving out here.
Yeah, weather's really nice.
Yep.
Who wouldn't want to live in California? That's the real
Korean
question.
barbecues around here too. Also, we have the Hollywood sign.
That is probably the biggest reason why you would come to California, actually.
The tourism stuff. Earthen Ring Farseer, that is interesting.
Yeah.
So that's his way to have some lower curve minions and not be as insanely greedy.
It's kind of a tech card against hunters as well. Okay. So we're getting word that SjoW actually disconnected last game, and that was the reason for the regame. Well, I think... well, Tides at least got a wild growth this game, so it kind of makes up for the Emperor Thorzane last game.
Yeah, he has a wild growth into a curve of the Pilot Shredder, so...
Whoa, double Earthen Ring Farseer. That actually makes it really bad in this matchup. The double Earthen Ring Farseer.
Right.
But he kind of makes up for it with cards like the Piloted Sky Golem, which are really good in this matchup.
What? He didn't play the Pilot Shredder there. He doesn't want to get knocked down easily by the Fiery War Axe.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting.
So he chooses to pass despite giving the card for the curve opportunity.
I think this is actually really starting to look into SjoW's favor, because I don't feel like SjoW or Tides can just pass every single turn. Like, you do sacrifice some stuff to the Fiery War Axe, right? But without putting pressure on the Warrior, Warrior is just free to do whatever he wants, and now he's the one that has initiative.
That's right. He's got Coin Harrison Jones, Coin Sludge Belcher, whichever is better.
Yeah, I like this a little better. You don't care if it gets swiped, plus it contests like Lotheb and your opponent's Sludge Belcher more. Or even the Pilot Sky Golem.
Yeah, there it is. Although, hopefully the Pilot Sky Golem will be able to pop something else that's resilient against the Fiery War Axe. We are not going to find out. I think he's just going to press, right?
Well, that's interesting.
I agree. Although you do toss the first body away of the Sludge Belcher, and then now Dr. Boom is going to have some pretty significant impact. Or he can use the Earthling Wing Farseer and Pilot Shredder combination. That's also highly impactful.
Yeah, I guess that's why Earthling Wing Farseer is in the deck.
Good positioning for Tides. There's also a handful of really impactful 4-drop minions that have adjacent, like the Wii Spellstopper.
Is there anything else? That's the only one I can think of for now. Because things such as Ancient Mage or Ancient Mage is a 5-drop, I believe. Yeah, and Defender of Argus, they have Battle Cry effects.
Touche.
Yeah.
Sylvanas is pretty problematic.
So actually, that might have not been good positioning, because it's more likely...
Yeah, but the Pilot Sky Golem's a higher priority target, though. I think, right?
That's true. So even though Tides was kind of passive in the first few turns, now he's really putting on the pressure on the board. But yeah, like you said, Sylvanas is going to be really threatening.
He should have just attacked the face with this Pilot Sky Golem.
Oh, he's actually going to make the
he's
trade.
trading.
Ancient Broodmaster.
Oh, he can innervate Big Game Hunter. That was not what he wanted, though. There's like a lot of chances that it could have gone okay.
Yeah, and if SjoW has the Brawl in his hand right now, this could go really awry.
Yeah, there is no Brawl. But he's got a lot of minions to consider, too. This is almost too much for comfort. The Force of Nature Savage Roar is very much fresh in his mind. And the worst part is everything challenges Harrison, so he trades down. He's calculating like what's the most he can get away with, and I think it's if both Boombots survive, he.
Oh, no respect for his
no
combo.
respect for the combo.
No respect even for Savage Roar.
Let's see, 4, 10, 20, 21 damage right now. Yep, Drake has to come down.
And I feel like now is as good a time as any to Savage Roar.
Yeah, for sure. Just cash it in. Be aggressive, and these Boombots might be able to redeem you as well. It's before Alex Straza can come down. SjoW is potentially on his last life here. Yes. Unless these Boombots do magical things.
Yeah, basically, Tides Boombots have to go to Dr. Boom, and SjoW's Boombots have
to go to the Azure Drake and the Big Game Hunter.
Yes. Is SjoW feeling lucky?
He has to. Otherwise, he's dead.
Okay, that was good. Ooze is pretty challenging.
Yeah. He still has an opportunity, though, to board clear.
Okay, that was good.
That was good. Still struggling a little bit, though.
Well, now actually SjoW can board clear.
Well, hold on. See where this Boombot goes.
I guess the best would be if the Boombot does 1 to Cruel Taskmaster.
Yeah, and the worst is, of course, is like 4 to your own face. Oh, man, Death Spite. It's going to be a little bit painful if, you know, he's not going to be able to take a lot of damage here. Okay, so he's going for the guaranteed safe play. That's completely fair as well.
Yeah, and this also sets up Braum for the following turn. So if
Oh, you're right.
Tides can't kill or taunt, that's not... that's one off.
Hold
Unless...
on.
Oh!
Yeah! There we go.
Okay, never mind. I was wrong. That was not one off. That was
Boom.
exact lethal.
Yeah.
One
Well,
off.
he
One
had
more.
hero power too, so if Boombot did 1 damage...
No, if 2 damage or more.
Yes, if
Yes.
the Boombot did 1 damage, he wouldn't have gotten it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, wow, what a really close game back and forth. You know, we thought maybe the Warrior was able to take it. But you know what? In the end, Druid's gone. I mean, obviously, SjoW would have liked to have won that game because if he won that game, then Druid would have gotten guarantee against Warrior.
Yes.
But yeah, whatever. Like you just let that go, just kind of see if you can match it up.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit scary still because now that Mage is available for Tides to play, and that Warrior too, and that still makes it really difficult in terms of lining it up. It's a 50-50 at this stage.
Yeah, and it's not even a 50-50 that Tides would even like, or sorry, SjoW would even like, because the Warrior against the Mage, it's really close to a 50-50. Like,
Right.
Mage is really good against the Warrior, and Druid is also really good against the Warrior. So both Warriors in each player's lineup is going to be the weak point. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. Players are being punished for being creative and having their own flair.
Well, it's interesting because 3 players out of the top 8 have brought Warriors as the big difference maker. Druid and Mage is actually almost common in all the players too. 7 out of 8 players in the top 8 brought Mage. 8 out of 8 players brought Druid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much, Firebat was the only player in the entire tournament who didn't bring Druid, and he got punished for it by getting 3-0'd by SjoW.
He lost very quickly. And then we only had 2 players outside of Reynad bring Paladin, and Paladin got destroyed. No Shamans, no Priests,
That's a little unfortunate.
and only 2 Warlocks.
I feel like
And a few Rogues.
Priest might need a bit of help, but Shaman will get that help from cards like the new Shaman 4-drop and Lava Shock.
No Rogues, in fact, for the top 8 either. Interesting point. I know Rogue was a class a lot of people like, but
Yeah,
only a handful of people brought Rogue.
I feel like everyone who brought Rogue was kind of cheesed out a little by the Face Hunters.
Orange, Nadia, Hyped, and Firebat.
Yeah.
three Archon members.
Yeah.
Moz he'd bring Rogue. He brought Mage and Warlock.
Yeah, so Rogue's not doing so well in this tournament, and perhaps we might see the decline of Rogue once Face Hunter gets so much more popular. And even Warrior gets even more popular.
You're right. In fact, Rogue is the only class. Hyped is the only player to win with Rogue in the entire tournament.
That's true.
Everyone else lost with Rogue, and a lot of people tried multiple times. Nadia tried multiple times. Firebat tried.
Like in the Amazon tournament you casted a few days ago, Dog actually lost 0-3 with the Rogue as well, right?
As well, yeah. It's so interesting. The metagame keeps cycling like this. Periodically, Hunter keeps coming in, but it's always like another deck that it takes just a little bit of time to figure it out. Like Oil Rogue was dominant for a long time. You saw Rogue versus Rogue, and Rogue would destroy pretty much everything. And before that, Paladin was starting to make a comeback too, but Rogue shut down the Paladin. And before that, the Paladins were shutting down the Druids. So this is like a really interesting cycle of how things.
The cycle I see most is Handlock, Paladin, and Rogue kind of like. The Paladins were shutting down the Handlocks, so the Rogue shut down the Paladins, and when Paladins became less popular, the Handlocks came coming back.
Yeah, I saw similar, although it was like Druid instead of the Paladin. I think it was like the Druid Rogue, and then Hunter was also cycling in too. So actually, Druid Rogue and Hunter was the triad that was like also really popular too, because the Hunter would punish the Druid, and then people at the time were playing Spectre Knight against Rogue, and then that was like a really strong thing. And then Rogue, people would like beat the mid-range Hunter with saps. So there's an interesting amount of like wheels and circles around different pockets of the metagame. And if you start thinking about like the overall collection of how many decks there are in Hearthstone that are competitively viable for like laddering or tournaments, it's actually a pretty high amount.
Yeah. I would say probably around the 20 range.
Yep. It's just that for Conquest and the fact that it's just so soon after Blackrock Mountain, everyone's playing Druid. Like, everybody's playing Druid. It's the story of the tournament.
Yeah, and the best way to counter Druid is Grim Patrons.
Is it?
Maybe. Like, Grim Patrons and Warrior is
Are you sure?
Now. Yeah, like, it's invulnerable to swipe, even.
Not necessarily. Just have 2 Azure Drakes out there.
Yep, so we're going to actually have a rematch, but it's going to be Tides playing the Warrior and SjoW playing the Druid here.
Yeah. The overlay is correct in the sense that Tides is the Warrior player.
And unfortunately for SjoW, his hand doesn't seem to be that great without a Wild Growth. In fact, his hand currently is not really existent.
All right. Looks like we have a little bit of a bug here, and we can't necessarily see the other person's POV. That's okay. So it's like a ladder game of Tides in a way. So he's waiting on the turn from Druid, and
here's another tech card that's good against Druid. Piloted Shredder. Just adding more minions into the deck kind of
actually, yeah,
comes out
more
a little
sticky
better.
minions in general are good.
Oh, that's so crushing for SjoW. Just 2 hero powers in a row. That being said, the rest of his deck is pretty good, or the rest of the cards in his hand. 2 Pilot Shredders in a row into Harrison Jones.
Harrison Jones is really good.
If Pilot Shredder comes down here, it's going to get punished pretty hard with the Cruel Taskmaster. Sentient Shield Master is actually the better play.
Yeah, he sees it.
Yeah, the only way... this can't really get punished, and yeah, Deathspite is the only good way to kill it. There's also Shield Block, Shield Slam, but that doesn't feel necessarily as good.
Still, Cruel Taskmaster is nice, so that way you can not only get the card draw, but the 2 attack body challenges the 2 health remaining from the
Yeah,
Senjin.
you also just don't want this Acolyte to just die plainly to this 3/5 Senjin.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh.
he's gonna execute.
Okay,
Alright, fair
that's okay as well. You really want to save the execute for a bigger minion, but since you have 2 in your hand and this Senjin challenges the Acolyte so much, I think this is fine.
So now the Shade next Rammus allows SjoW to use Wrath as well.
Yeah.
Take out that Acolyte for 1 card, but you are fighting at a card disadvantage here.
Yeah, SjoW also plays the Shade 1 turn before Baron Geddon can come onto the field.
Smart. Sludge Belcher. Oh.
Oh,
Oh. Be careful there, SjoW. Like, that is the craziest brawl I've ever seen.
Yeah, none of these cards actually say always wins the brawl.
Yeah.
Like in the adventure mode.
I don't even know what that card is called.
I have no idea as well, but
It's
it
like
seems
the,
pretty
it's
good.
like the Dark Iron Brawler or something like that.
It's Dark Iron Bouncer. Okay, wow.
Pilot Shredder seems to be the obvious play here.
But not a very good play, unfortunately. That being said, there's actually 2 Ancients of Lore in SjoW's hand. And whenever KitKat tells me about this matchup, he says, if you have Ancient of Lore in your opening hand, you just automatically win. So even though SjoW had a really bad start,
players are so whiny, man.
That's true.
Jeez. If he has this 1 card in his opening hand, you automatically lose. It's like there's no statistical chance that you can come back at all. I know. I'm not trying to make fun of the player. It's just like it seems like a very gross oversimplification of it.
That's true. So now SjoW has an opportunity to, okay, I was going to say put the Pilot Shredder in the middle.
Nah, Steam Wheel Sniper doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, he can hero power things now. Like
Also,
hero
you
power
know,
minions.
if there's definitely one player's advice you want to take, it's generally KitKat's and when he plays the Warrior. So I'm gonna believe him on this one. If the Druid has that Ancient of Lore, he's gonna win. Although he hasn't played it yet, so maybe that's not the impact that it needs. And to be honest, it's still a really tough matchup to the point where it's pretty inconsequential both ways. Even if he has that Ancient of Lore, he doesn't have that Ancient of Lore. He still has ways to disarm weapons and draw cards.
I like this play from SjoW. It just puts more pressure on the field.
Oh, he can steal the Druid Claw with Baron Geddon this
He can
turn.
actually brawl this turn. You saw his proclivity to brawl in a previous turn.
Oh yeah, the Brawl is also a possibility as well.
Actually, something like Fiery War Axe and trade in the Fire War Axe and trade in the Cruel Taskmaster into the Steam Wheel Sniper guarantees you a really good minion.
True. How does he proceed? He just go ahead and tosses in the Brawl. I guess he's okay with everything other than his Cruel Taskmaster surviving.
So that's the worst outcome. It's going to be... Okay.
Fair enough. I think he's going to go on the offensive too, right?
Yeah, that's not really good draw. Or not really good outcome either, but SjoW... Or Tides will take it, I guess.
I like the idea of being able to go aggressive. If he stole the Druid Claw, that would have been nuts.
Yeah.
Alright, Harrison or Ancient of Lore both draw cards here. Disarming the weapon seems to be a big priority. The thing is that I think SjoW still feels like he has time because his opponent only has 9 mana if he's been paying attention because of the coin.
Yeah.
Oh, nice draw. Very nice draw for Tides. Almost snap calling the Shield Slam, and he has the Pilot Shredder to back it up. Draws a second one just for good measure. Might as well just swing, right? So that way your opponent can't disarm you with Harrison.
Yeah, I mean, you do have some burst in your hand with the Baron Geddon.
Yeah. I don't want to call it too early, but, I mean, it looks like SjoW is under so much pressure, he might just buckle any second here.
Yeah, he's going to have to use his Ancient of Lore to heal, so double Ancient of Lore might not be the best if you don't draw into Wild Growths or Innervates early against Warrior.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we were saying, like, Ancient of Lores are high-impact cards, but when you play them so late, and you're just using them defensively to heal, it's like, it's not a comfortable spot. He still could just die to a Gromosh top deck,
Yeah,
right?
essentially he's trading this Ancient of Lore for, like, the Fire War Axe 6 damage.
Mm-hmm.
Yet another shield block, but it doesn't really matter because you can just shield slam this creature anyway.
Right. Well, it's just good to cycle, get your health up.
Now there's like pretty much no way that SjoW can burst his opponent down.
Right. And these pilot shredders are so hard to deal with. Not to mention the fact that he's got to execute to get past taunts.
Shade is not good.
Shade is actually one of the worst draws, considering that Baron Geddon exists in the board. Is there a draw for lethal here?
Well, if there was, that certainly wasn't it. Was there any way?
I mean, I don't think you're under a rush here. You can Death Spite. Actually, now that you have 11 mana, Death Spite, pushing damage, and then dropping Baron Geddon. That doesn't seem that great, actually. You put your opponent at 3 health, but you're weakening your own board. Actually, how much do you weaken your own board by? Are you vulnerable to a big swipe play? I think so, because scenarios can trade into it. There's no possible way that you died to double Savage Roar, though, with the Innervate.
I do like the Death Swipe play. Just get a weapon out on the field.
Right. I like, yeah.
Not only does it have potential to do more damage on the next turn, but you set up for Grom as well.
Yeah. No need to, like, play the Baron Geddon.
Yeah.
In fact, Baron Geddon's, like, surprise burst.
Yeah, that being said, maybe this will give SjoW an opportunity to come back with the Harrison Jones. It draws your opponent a card,
It
though.
draws him a card, unless you're willing to kill it off with your scenarios first. Not to mention that all you get in return is a Druid of the Claw taunt, because you only have 5 mana left. You need to taunt up for sure. I mean, the Warrior's really close to killing off the Druid Monk. This is pretty nuts.
So, I don't really see a combination of cards that could get him out of this unless, like a Doomsayer is popped. It's going to be the Doomsayer once again.
Yeah, and if it's any relevant damage, then Execute comes live, and then Execute Baron Geddon with the Pirate Shredder attacking in is lethal. So if it has even one attack, that's game. if this, it could be a 0 attack minion like Lord Walker Cho. It's a 1 attack minion, exactly.
Oh, no.
And that's going to be game. Tides should be able to take this out here and go up 2-1. Oh, well,
Right.
okay.
Even Grom.
Just for good measure.
Now, how does Tides want to finish this game in style?
I
with
think
the
the
Baron
Baron
Geddon?
Geddon is really stylish, man.
But Grom shows him that you top deck an answer.
Yeah, that's true. Tilt him. Tilt him.
Do it.
He's got it. All right, so the Druid goes down to the Warrior, and that was exactly the opposite of what SjoW wanted. He actually called this prediction correctly. He wanted Druid versus Warrior. Now the Warrior escaped out, and now he's got to beat this Mage deck twice, and I don't want to face this Mage deck twice.
Yeah, like I said, I wanted the Mage deck to lose at least once just so we could see more Mage games, but I actually don't see it losing it very easily to this Warrior. Warrior has a hard time doing a lot of burst damage and then popping an Ice Block. Then Tides can just throw down 2 Molten Giants, Sun Fury Protector, and heal back up. Maybe put up another Ice Block even, and there's no way that really Warrior has a easy time bursting down 2 sets of Ice Blocks.
Yeah, for sure. As a result now, the Druid does threaten to continue to kill off the Mage, but the Warrior is the big question here. Can SjoW keep up with that? The duplicates and the big threats that keep pressing out. That's where it starts making it really difficult, and I feel like Tides is in a dominant position to face Trump in the semis. Tides versus Trump.
Tides versus Trump.
It's like an old classic
Exactly.
rivalry.
It's actually Trump used to be Tides' weakness actually in tournaments back in the day because
Really?
Trump would always zoo Tides out of tournaments.
Oh, that's right. And I remember Tides would tell us in the group chat and Tempo Storm that like he thinks Trump is like the most underrated player. Because he's like, no, Trump's good, man. And because Trump would always beat Tides, and of course the joke was that the winner would, because both of them were like fighting over Nadia. It was like that was a funny thing.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
But
Good old drama back in the day.
Trump was a good wingman if I remember correctly, right?
Trump's an excellent wingman for sure. Absolutely. I guess if you're SjoW, you just go with Druid. Just see how you can line things up for the last game. Doesn't really matter ultimately. Maybe he wants to go with Warrior if he feels really confident in the comfort pick for the Warrior class.
Yep.
I want to see if this Warrior can outpace the Mage, though, because if we have room for aggression, then it's great. Maybe that Ysera will be the big X factor. Maybe it draws cards that allows him to have good impact, like maybe he has
Nightmare or Ysera Awakens.
or
we talked about.
you can dream the Molten Giant that's taunted back into the
That's
hand.
true. That's true. Yeah.
In fact, most cards from Ysera have high impact against like people who hide behind giants.
Yeah. Emerald Drake is probably it's really good in other matchups, but it's not a good one in this matchup, I feel.
Yeah.
But the more active ones, the non-minions, everything that's not Emerald Drake or Laughing Sisters would be pretty good in the matchup.
Yeah, Laughing Sister on paper looks good, but then he just Frost Nova Doomsayer, and then the Laughing Sisters don't really do anything.
Okay, so it's going to be Mage from Tides, of course, and Druid from SjoW, so more of a standard matchup, and it's definitely a matchup that I think SjoW is more favored in because of the potential burst combos. That being said, Tides, he probably has like Sylvanas still in the deck, and if you duplicate a Sylvanas, it's pretty difficult for Druid to deal with.
Excellent point. I really like Duplicate, like the design of it, the fact that, you know, you can play around it too. Before it's like, well, if secrets popped on your own turn, how do you play around Duplicate? You can't. Not to mention the fact that people are like, oh, you can just play chargers or things that just respawn immediately.
Yeah.
So,
well, you know what? Other classes have Duplicate now. For example, Rogue. Rogue got a Duplicate.
You're right. Gang up. They actually got a triplicate.
You asked for it.
Good point. And we see excellent hand from
That's
SjoW.
right. If you didn't see the deck yesterday, this is what the gist of Tides' Druid deck is. Even though it says Mage, you gotta flip. Oh, sorry, Tides' Mage deck. He's got Illuminator, 2 of them to start healing. He's got Molten Giants, Duplicate, Big Threats, Taunt Minions, and he's still got Freeze and Doomsayer, like Blizzard and Frost Nova.
Yeah, and even the key cards are Emperor Thurzin, which like reduces the mana cost of all these cards, and also Echo of Medivh, a card in GVG that really buffed up mages. Before, Hyped was using this similar kind of deck to beat out a lot of control decks like Priest and Warrior, but ever since like late next Rammus, it hasn't been seen much lately because of its various weaknesses. Oh, man, wow! Tides just pinged himself. Interesting. And said whoops. So he wants to get himself lower to Molten Giants? I guess that's his strategy. Like, I don't think that's a mistake, to be honest.
I'm speechless. What the hell just happened, Tides? Or is this so next level that I can't even begin to comprehend it?
I think what Tides does here...
You know what it is? Tides is establishing dominance.
He's getting into his opponent's head.
I'm not even afraid. I'll lower myself to Molten Giants. Let's do it.
Why not?
Now, of course, you're really tempted to rat this, but the Drake is the best to answer it immediately.
Yeah, if your opponent has to hero power Acolyte of Pain, for example, he just loses tempo.
Yeah, but you get tempo back through a big board destruction. Above everything else, SjoW needs to hold the silence for the Doomsayer. Silence for the Doomsayer is the best way, because if you play Doomsayer and they kill it, you sometimes get duplicate on it.
Yep. Tides just, now this is looking even more like a standard Mage deck. If this were the first time Tides were playing this deck, I think SjoW might even expect Fatigue Mage.
The thing about Fatigue Mage is that you don't want to necessarily draw too much. You want to make your opponent overdraw their deck, so you have Death Lords and constant freezes. So you just grind your opponent out. That's why I really want to make sure that Fatigue Rogue becomes a thing, because that's cool, the gang up. It's cool in concept, it's not cool to play against it.
It's also cool because it makes Vanish a card that you can actually use. I was actually playing against Gang Up the other day, and Vanish...
And not just something you use in copy pasta.
Yeah. I actually, like, my entire board died to Vanish because he played, like, Cold Light Oracle into Vanish.
That's so sick. Cold Light Oracle, Vanish. Or actually, you can't. You can prep Vanish, I guess. Why does Vanish cost 6 mana, though? It's just nuts. It's so expensive.
Maybe it's because, like, in other card games, card effects like Vanish just was so impactful. Yu-Gi-Oh, for example, it had, like, something like Dark Hole, which is... It actually killed all minions.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
there's an equivalent that returned, like, Heavy Trunade or something, that returned all minions to its hand.
No, that was a... Was that all minions? Giant Trunade?
That might be spells.
Yeah, I think it returned all spells to the hand.
There's a card that returned all minions to the hand, though.
And it definitely had a big tempo gain. Because in Yu-Gi-Oh, every minion had charge.
Yeah.
SjoW has a lot to clean up on the board here. No swipe, even though he has spell power. He's got Wrath for 4, and he can develop a minion. And I guess now, if he hasn't paid attention too closely to Tides' deck, it's very confusing. But if he's also in tune with it, he understands the capability of what his opponent's deck can do. So if you leave up too many, he can Echo of Medivh and get a lot back in value.
Yeah, especially that Sludge Belcher is really impactful. He, like...
Oh, man. Keeper of the Grove is exactly what Tides wants. Okay. Wrath makes a lot more sense. Draw a card first. Is he still going to keep her, though?
Ooh, swipe. SjoW kind of wishes he had that swipe.
Yep, would have made it a lot easier. That keeper means like you instantly want to do Frost Nova Doomsayer, right?
Yeah. I think it's almost certainly going to come down here. Yeah, Tides with the instant call. Is he? Whoa, he actually Acolytes of Pain.
Oh, he's going to Flame Strike next turn. Everything's conveniently at 4 health. He actually doesn't need to do it. And plus, this might be an opportunity to see if like his opponent has some way to answer the Acolyte easily, like silencing it again. That's a really good observation, in fact. Most things that he can Flame Strike down. And actually playing the Acolyte was even good too, because one, it's more mana efficient, so he saves the Doomsayer. The second is that anything he Flame Strikes, he can also attack with an extra damage on the Acolyte, so it kills it off. So say it's like the like a Emperor or something, then he can kill it with Flame Strike.
Emperor would actually be pretty insane in SjoW's hand. Unfortunately, he hasn't drawn it yet. Emperor is exactly what SjoW needs right now, just to fit in everything. Because SjoW, even though he walled growth, he's having problems like using up all his mana. He's just like one step behind every single time, it feels.
Oh, dude, that is actually so bad for Tides.
Savage Roar here. Force of Nature, Savage Roar. Wait, that's game.
Is that lethal?
That's 14 plus...
Yeah. Plus
24. Yeah, that's game. Oh my god.
Dude, that Whirling Zap-O-Matic has single-handedly caused this game to end.
That is insane. Well played, well wrecked. Oh my god. I can't believe that.
Is there anything that actually would have done more? Or would have done the same exact thing? Mana Addict?
Mana Addict would give you
7 damage? Because you get +2 each time.
7 plus 14. That would have been 1 damage off lethal.
1 damage off lethal. What about what about like I guess a 4-attack minion wouldn't matter because like
not enough.
Would have been weak.
So yeah, that was the only card that 1 in like 60 something that Tides would lose that game on that very turn.
All right, well it's a bad matchup in general because the pressure was building out, but like it looked like maybe Tides was able to be in a good spot. And all of a sudden, that Whirling Zap-O-Matic, man.
Can't believe it.
Kalento says his least favorite card in the entire set is probably Shredder. And it's instances like that where it is like his least favorite. Because you can do a lot of the control things correctly, and then all of a sudden that happens.
Didn't someone say that their least favorite card is Whirling Zap-O-Matic? Because, like...
Who said that?
Was it you?
No, I like that card. It's really fun.
Oh, okay. There was someone who said that, one of the pro players, and it's because like that card can just win games sometimes, but it's also like just usually bad in other times.
I feel like that's something like Firebat would say, just because he's played a lot of the Shaman.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
I don't know if Firebat would say that. I think Firebat's like least favorite card would be like Wild Growth. That's like such a
But
Firebat-ish answer.
he's used Wild Growth so effectively to
I
win
know,
so
but
much
it's
money in
like
tournaments.
because of it's like you have
Yeah.
it or you don't.
I
Type of thing.
understand.
That's just if I had to make a guess. 2-2 is the score. Tides is Mage against Warrior. This is going to close it out, and I think that's a great way to wrap the series. Just be able to see who's going to be able to win this control match.
Pretty much both players' signature decks in the tournament show with the obvious signature Control Warrior, but Tides with his signature Echo Mage that he built himself, and he's brought to this tournament.
All right, SjoW looking a little uncomfortable, but he shouldn't worry too much. This deck is really good, though, against Warrior on paper, but that was back when you had Twilight Drakes as well.
Yeah.
Maybe when you have Illuminators, it's a lot weaker.
I wouldn't put it past SjoW to really like research Tides' deck, get all the cards out, and try to practice with one of his teammates or one of his friends. I think it's a definite possibility.
Here we go, game number 5. Start things off. You generally just want card draw, so keeping the Acolytes good. Doomsayer doesn't really have too much impact in the late stage of the game. Early on, it's okay.
Yeah.
Usually it dies to execute, but in late stage of the game, it's almost guaranteed to get shield slammed.
Yeah, we see one of the key cards, or actually a lot of key cards in this matchup for SjoW. He has Acolyte plus Cruel Taskmaster with it, and he also has Emperor Thorzen.
I was trying to think if maybe Tides pinging himself mattered that game, but I guess it didn't.
It didn't. But imagine if it did.
Imagine if it did. I think I would have cried of laughter.
That would definitely be untrolled and it'd be like, ping yourself on turn 1, and then like 10 turns later.
Yeah.
Like if you're familiar with SpongeBob at all.
Yeah,
often
the
do that.
graphic where it just like says 10 seconds later.
Yeah.
All right. Looks like a lot of people will be drawing cards this game. But more importantly, you can use Cool Taskmaster to shut down your opponent's draw by killing the Acolyte off of your own Acolyte.
Yeah, so much value here.
Yep.
SjoW's Acolyte will draw 3. Tides will draw 1.
Well, he'll draw another card eventually.
Oh, with the Loot Hoarder. Yeah.
He actually has a clear. Now, the clear does not allow him to develop anything else, though. I guess the Doomsayer, but that's also pitifully weak here.
Oh, it's going to be... I feel like we're going to see some Emperor Wars this game.
Dude, you can duplicate the Emperor Thorzen and make everything so cheap.
You can make everything free, in fact.
Virtually free.
Unfortunately, Emperors can't really cheapen themselves unless you get them off the duplicate.
Yeah, just set up duplicate now. Why not? Okay. Tide knows his deck way better than me. I'm just looking at juicy combos.
Yeah,
But-
I like to play, though.
Yeah, it's board establishment too. The Emperor Thorzen is not actually the ideal target to get duplicated. It's just like the cool possibility that it could.
Yeah.
You want to duplicate your big threats, your Molten Giants, if you have Sylvanas, cards like that. And that should be the play, right? You want to cheapen everything significantly.
The funny thing is that this... Oh, he's actually not going to play Emperor?
Okay, I don't understand how to play this deck at all.
I don't either.
Really weird. Okay.
Because if Tides had actually played Emperor on this turn, then it would lock out SjoW's Emperor. Because SjoW would be forced to shield slam it, basically.
You're
But
right.
now SjoW gets the initiative. 8 mana Ysera coming up. And there's... Okay, there's a way for him to deal with it, but he has the Flame Strike.
I mean, how good will Flame Strike really be in this matchup?
That's true.
Not that great. That is so much mana gain. That's 9 mana. It's been cheap. And Shield Slam costs 0?
Yeah, they're super backstabs now. Kill anything.
Super backstabs. 0 mana assassinate.
So...
Alright, so supposedly this matchup was good, but I didn't calculate or factor in this kind of impact.
Yeah, and also, like you said, the Ysera might just pretty much snowball the game unless Tides draws a Polymorph. And I don't believe I've even seen a Polymorph in his deck. So, yeah, this Ysera might just single-handedly win the game. So, how many cards are here?
Oh my
Too many
gosh.
cards, actually.
He's got so much armor. What What are you gonna do with all that armor, man? Wait, there's another. Oh, so it's ice block and. Yeah. Okay, wait. So he's gonna play the Emperor now, when there's not really that strong of a need to cheapen everything. Or maybe he had too many cards in the past, and duplicating it would have.
Could be possible.
Oh, he's gonna steal the Emperor.
That's
and
gonna be huge.
Play around duplicate.
Stealing Emperor is so great. So that's essentially 2 turns of Emperor. And Tides actually has no way to deal with the Emperor.
Oh, yeah, he's only got Frost Nova Doomsayer.
Yeah, but that's not good enough.
All these legendaries are going to be dirt cheap in a couple of turns.
I want to see something like Alex Straza, Grom, Cruel Taskmaster in a single turn.
That is almost possible. That's feasible.
So
what? He doesn't attack?
Playing around, like he doesn't want his opponents to get Molten Giants at all.
Yeah, but I guess even attacking once to 19, is that really that big of a deal?
Yeah, because if you put him to 19, he can get 8 mana Molten Giants, I guess, because of the Emperor. So,
you're right.
Wow, double Doomsayer.
Is he gonna Echo Medivh by any chance? No, he already has. He pings the face. He might as well start working. It's like using a spoon as a shovel. I mean, he can start working on this. Duplicate will come down. So this shows that that SjoW has done his research. That is a lot of Doomsayers, though.
He also just wants to use a lot of his spells.
How
to put out
interesting would it be, though, if the fact is you can't kill these Doomsayers, and he loses everything?
You know what? These dream cards will be less expensive.
Oh, yeah.
So you can have, like, a 1 mana
No,
Awakens.
actually it was the wrong sequence.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
He can't deal with the Doomsayer! What? Doomsayer actually might work here.
Double Doomsayer once again.
Like, he is really making a lot of insurance that this happens.
So nothing here is good. But you get another dream card, and the dream card will be, well, the first dream card will be
My
less expensive
world
now.
makes no sense right now. What is this game? I don't even understand. He dealt with Ysera and Sylvanas. There's only a handful of really big threats left. But here's an interesting thing, too. Tides actually ran out of cards. Running out of things to use Echo Medivh on.
That is pretty funny. And he also can't use these Molten Giants because he's at too high a health. So right now, SjoW, he sees all the Doomsayers has been used in the deck.
Right.
So now his board is completely safe.
Here's a good thing, though. Alex Straza and Gromach will be 4 mana and 5 mana, respectively.
Yes, so just 1 mana away from that Cruel Taskmaster, Alex Straza, Grom combo that I talked about.
Would you not want to just Deathbite and attack here? No. Okay. I guess Deathbite afterwards. Yeah, that makes sense. So that way you can...
You don't want to put him down to 20,
right.
I guess.
So you can't play a Molten Giant. So cheap!
And that's going to be
like
Nightmare.
pretty. This is almost zoo status. Like of how cheap the hand is. Wow, both that. Slow down there, Ty. Oh! Wait, what?
Oh, that's interesting.
I don't understand. I don't really get how to play this deck, apparently, because Tides has, like, a very... Like, he played that so fast as if it's common knowledge. Like, of course you do this and not play Lotheb.
I guess it's... Okay, so his reasoning is that he wants to duplicate the Lotheb. Right?
Oh, right, so Lotheb doesn't die. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I wonder.
What?
Ice Block is going to get popped, though, right?
It is, but...
Then he's got Molten Giant.
Echo for 2 more Molten Giants.
Then he's got... Okay, so he's going to Molten Giant, and then he has Anti-Kill to heal back.
What to do?
Yeah, but that's probably not going to be enough with Nightmare and Grom.
Right.
If he draws an activator like... well, he has the Death Spite for an activator.
I really like the way that SjoW's played around Molten Giants this game. In fact, he can just play Alexstrasza and then keep these boombots alive, so that way your Tides can't AoE down the board. Because the boombots might be liable to kill him.
I actually think you want to kill off this Lotheb if possible while popping the ice block, because you don't want duplicate to duplicate giants, for example. And him duplicating a Lotheb actually isn't too impactful because it's still going to cost 5 mana to play those Lothebs.
Duplicate won't happen though if he has to trade with Lotheb, right? So you won't actually activate duplicate unless you kill it.
Yeah, but on the other side of the board, if Tides is able to get up 2 Moltens and a Sun Fury Protector, that's going to be pretty impactful, right?
That's true. He's running out of time. Okay, so he opts to...
Okay, yeah, so
he opts to go for it. Duplicate tries to go and smash the face.
Oh,
yep.
Imagine
so
if he roped there.
Yeah, no. He didn't highlight it after he played it, so it looks like he went for it really quick. He kept Alexstrasza.
Okay, so you can Giant and then play either Lotheb and Healbot, but I don't think
There's
that
no
does
taunts. And he has no more ice block. You know, the thing is, like, now that he can actually legitimately Blizzard, right?
it. Yeah, I think he has to Blizzard, actually.
And he's like at a low enough health, or has a high enough health that his opponent can't necessarily do anything. What can he do? He has to have weapons.
He needs a silence. Oh,
Weapon?
here's a weapon. Oh, that's lethal. Right? There's no ice block up, and that's it.
Oh, the Baron
Axe plus
get it.
Baron.
Oh man. Well, that puts a end to the run.
Wow, how unfortunate for Tides. Unfortunately, this deck didn't shape up, but wow,
Yeah.
that was a really exciting game.
He won with 50 HP.
That's great.
Oh man. Not the greatest way to go out for the mage deck, but SjoW goes through. What a really wacky game.
Yeah.
Alexstrasza was 5 mana.
I feel like that game was made possible, brought to you by Emperor Thorzen, because, yeah, Emperor Thorzen's effect was allowed to go on for 3 turns on the SjoW side of the field.
I don't feel like that was like the big I don't think that was like the big deciding thing, because there's a lot of times that SjoW just like floated mana, because like he just played Gromach for 4, and it's like, well, he didn't really do anything else except attack with Death by an armor up. So it felt like it was a cool moment, but it wasn't like the reason why SjoW won. He won because he built mounting pressure with Dr. Boom and big threats, and Tides just didn't clear it in time.
Yeah, it was plays like shield slamming his own Sylvanas, and then the eventual Ysera.
Right.
All those things that forced Tides to trade really inefficiently for them, like Doomsayer into double Doomsayer with Frost Nova, and then Blizzard into double Doomsayer, just using up all his resources to clear those big minions.
The deck is also really difficult to play, Monk. Like, it's really, really hard to play that mage deck, and as you can tell, like, both of us also weren't sure if like some moves were optimized. There were some obvious plays that Tides disagreed with us on, and there's just I don't know if maybe he in his mind he felt like things were unlucky, or if maybe there was a course of action you could have taken differently. I'm not really sure, so I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut on that one and say fun games.
So now we have indeed our round of 4, which is going to be RDU versus Dog and Trump versus SjoW. Certainly not the round of 4 a lot of people were expecting.
That's right. So we're going to have a quick break. Well, actually, this is a longer break because now the quarterfinals is over. We're going to get ready for the semifinals. RDU versus Dog, Trump versus SjoW. The top 4 all are in the money. And we're going to see what's going to happen after this break. We want to give a shout out to Xfinity for supporting the event. A big thank you to them. If you want to get anything from your Wi-Fi needs at home, go ahead and check it out at xfinityhearthstone.com. Stay tuned, guys. More action from here from the Xfinity Hearthstone Invitational will continue right after this.